Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy. Fanboy.
Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot. I assume Tom.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's great to reconnect for Curses Season 2. Jeff and Jim, congratulations. Here we are, Apple TV Plus yet again.
Thank you so much.
You know, all new shenanigans, all new mysteries.
Shenanigans is one way to put it, sure.
We got to break some curses, and that's the premise of Season 2, is in doing so. And then a couple of people trying to stop you. Very Scooby-Doo mysteries in that little aspect.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to take in the second season, go bigger, bolder, badder, everything. And one of the things we always talked about, how can we really separate the second season from the first season, is in the first season, you knew the mystery that you were dealing with. You just didn't know how to do it. In the second season, we wanted to play with the idea that you may not know what this core mystery of the season is. You have to figure out, along with the family, what the core mystery is while you're still having to deal with all the artifacts. So there's like one larger overarching mystery that we wanted to play with this season in difference from the first season, since you knew what that mystery was.
Yeah, we really thought that would help. And we really thought that would help. You know, every episode is a different artifact and a different sort of self-contained story in itself. But we really love the idea of every episode then propelling you into the next one, going, okay, I've learned a little bit more, or there's a little bit more of a question of what's going on. So it really helps, actually, from like the writing perspective. You're like, oh, you get to build to something versus just sort of like, okay, what are we doing now?
And I love the fact that one of the artifacts has cuneiform in it and goes all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia.
That's all that man right there, Mr. History.
But by the way, I mean, the funny thing is, you'd be shocked about how much of the stuff that is historical in the show is actually true to life. I mean, like it was crazy in the episode with like the Ottoman helm. The guy who designed the boat literally like researched boats of the era, and it looks shockingly true to what is actual. And you're just like, wow, dude, thanks for the deep dive.
Is there ever a moment where you guys are afraid you're actually going to uncover a real curse by going through artifacts that are so authentic?
I'll tell you honestly, we'll see news stories. We just saw one this week about that. This isn't too much of a spoiler. It's a title, but there's an episode about a cursed board game in this season. And there was a news article that just came out this past week where these archaeologists unearthed this ancient board game, and they're trying to figure out the rules of this game. And we're like, oh no, don't do that, because whatever these rules are is going to end up with a manticore. So it's like, we definitely see similarities often, more than you'd think.
Yeah, I mean, the shocking
thing is we all saw Jumanji with Robin Williams, so
yeah,
and Rhys Darby, the new one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but it is really funny. You'd be shocked about how often we would actually have an episode idea and do it, and then a news program or like a news story would come out about the thing that was in the in the episode, and you're like going, wait a minute, no, we came up with that first.
Right. It just takes longer to animate it rather than just breaking news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what was the creative process like this go around? Since you already had the storyboards and the character development from season 1, how much more easily or how quickly was it to animate season 2 in comparison?
As far as the animation, I mean, I'll just say it as a broader thing. Every aspect, from the animation to the story to everything, became so much more of a group effort, because every single person everybody became so passionate about it that everybody wanted to put some input into things. And we were always like open door policy. We want to hear everything and everybody. And so we'd be doing this, and an artist would be like, hey, can I put this little thing in there because I love this? And we're like, awesome. You know, an animator would be like, hey, what if this happened? We're like, oh, that's fantastic. So every single aspect of the second season, not only was everybody more comfortable and familiar with the characters, but everybody's kind of passion grew for everything. And so everybody, because of that, felt like an ownership and wanted to input and input and input. So it, in a way, it became a much more personal season, especially for our writers. There's a few episodes where our writers, I mean, there are some very personal stories in there. So it definitely became, the second season became so much more personal for everybody.
And it was really fun from our perspective because the first season, it took years to develop the show. So, you know, Jeff and I would be going over it a lot. So a lot of the first season is based on like a lot of the ideas that we had over the time developing it. So second season was really like sitting down in the writer's room with the writers and going, what stories do you want to tell? We've got this really crazy setup that kind of allows us to not travel in time necessary, but you kind of can. You know what I mean? Where you go anywhere in the world, almost about anything. What do you want to say, you know, and do, and fit it into this framework? What kind of crazy horror tropes or ways to scare people, like coming up with challenging ourselves every single time. That was a lot of fun because you'd already established something. Now you could just kind of go off in a lot of different directions. And so that was really freeing in a lot of ways.
And with that freedom, there also comes restrictions because you have 10 episodes and you probably start off with like 60 curses and we're like, hey, here's our top 60. We got to narrow it down to our top 10. And then let's try to save some of these for season 3.
Yeah.
More than 60, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
well, good. Give us an extra 10, 10 seasons.
We have, honestly, Cooper and I, even before we started episode 1, we started compiling a list of artifacts, ideas, whatever that we would share with each other. And honestly, it's a couple hundred. So there's,
and that just
and it just keeps growing. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause the other writers like would come in with like a lot of ideas and we'd be like, okay, this works here, this works. And it was also interesting to, as the season was taking shape, you're like, oh, you know what? Here, this episode should go here. So we can build this and here. Oh, and this subplot will work better. It was so much fun because we had a big old bulletin board. Every episode up, every character, trying to map everything. It was really intriguing. Like, you know what? Anyone should try to map out a season sometime of their favorite show. It's a really interesting process, actually.
Is there like a particular curse that you're going through the story, you're coming up with the writing process within the writer's room and developing and go, ooh, this might be a little more challenging than we expected to animate?
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing about Coop and I is we think big. That's just kind of like, and to our supervising director's like credit, he told us very early on, he's like, do not think about what you can do, just say what you want to do and we'll figure it out, and if we can't, I'll let you know. And I'll tell you, we were consistently shocked that we were like, oh, there's no way they could do this, and they did it, and they did it, and they did. And it wasn't until like episode 7 of this season where the director finally like goes, okay, guys, this one's a little too big. You need to go back a little. We're like, okay, but we got this far. So we definitely tried to push, and to their credit, we only got told it was too much like once or twice.
And you know, it's funny, honestly, there was one episode when we outlined it. I genuinely thought, oops, you know, I don't know how we're going to write and animate this one. It was the one with, well, anyways, but it was so funny. We get the script in, and I'm like, dude, the writer nailed it. Like feeling great about this. I'm not sure how we're gonna like direct this and storyboard, and they nailed it. And it was the fantastic thing is, it was great to go in, not 100% sure we would pull it off. And I think that's actually like a nice place to be, where you kind of want to take the jump where you're like, okay, we might have blown it on this one. Oh my God, we pulled it off.
Well, and pulling it off, you got a season 2 out of it, and now we're hoping for a season 3 because everything drops on Friday. Well, it starts streaming on Friday, October 4th.
Yes, sir.
Season 2, man. Bigger, badder.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we've run out of time. But again, Curses Season 2, Apple TV Plus, on October 4th is when they begin streaming. Congratulations. I can't wait to talk to you guys for Season 3. And hopefully you guys will let me do a studio visit at some point to see how everything develops in person.
Awesome. Thank you so much.